Hi everyone, welcome to this 3-part lesson series on how to play the Bossa Nova on the guitar. In part 1, we're going to go over the basic Bossa groove. In part 2, we're going to go over some more advanced comping patterns. And in part 3, we'll go over some fills and riffs so you can mix and match and create a kind of a really exciting Bossa part. Now before we get stuck in with the chords and learning the patterns, there's something I'd like to demonstrate to you, which I think it's going to be really powerful, and it will make all the difference when it comes to learning and internalizing the basic Bossa groove. Bossa Nova comes from the samba. Samba is an earlier version, and the main difference between these two styles is that Bossa Nova is just slower, mellow, kind of more chilled out version of the samba. But they both have they both use the same rhythmic structure, the same rhythmic cell, if you like. So let me play you the rhythm first. We're going to break it down, and there's something I'd like you to remember, and that's going to make all the difference. So within that we have this sound, which is really the heartbeat of the Bossa Nova. That gives us the counting of the bar. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. And within this sound, we have a kind of a drier sound, drier hit, and a more resonant hit. 1, 2, 1. And then we also have this, which is subdividing the rhythm, the beat, into 4. So this is why we say that Bossa Nova is a binary rhythm, and that just means that there's 2 beats per bar. 1, 2, 1, 2. The second beat is accented. 1, 2 is more resonant. And that just gives the kind of the vitality to the style, kind of that lull, the movement, the swing, if you like, to the rhythm. So I really wanted to remember that. That's going to be our point of reference. We're going to use that to count. We're also going to be used to kind of create bass lines based on this pattern. Our 2 hits, which I refer to as the heartbeat of the bossa, are going to be written down as 2 chorded notes. So remember, the second one is slightly accented. 1, 2, 1, 2. And the shaker sound is simply subdividing the beat into 4. So you get 4 16th notes instead of the sound of just 1 chorded note. Okay, so whereas here we have ta, 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 ta. There we have it's subdividing the same amount of time into 4. Now let's take a closer look at how we're going to be counting these semiquavers, or these 16th notes, because we're going to be using this to create some variations. Now remember, these 4 16th notes equal to the same time of 1 chorded note. Okay, so they're the same length. Now, the way that we're going to be counting this is like this. 1 E and A. Okay, 1 E and A. And if we have 2 semiquavers together, so beats 1 and 2 are both semiquavers, we can count like this. 1 E and A, 2 E and A. 1 E and A, 2 E and A. Okay, so if these semiquavers fall on beat 2, this first note can be 2 E and A. Okay, so we're going to be using a couple of variations of this rhythm here in this in our patterns. The first one is going to look like this. Now let's just compare these two. So as you can see, beat 1, the first subdivision is equal to this grouping here. Okay, so that's 1. Now the next 3 are joined together. So 1 E and A are joined into one lump, so which is worth 3 16th notes. So here we're going to count 1 E and A. There we're going to count 1 E and A, 1 E and A. So that's all together. We can either count silently or you can count aloud, but just play that first one because the rest should sound rather than be played separately. It's just one sound. 1 E and A, 2 E and A, 1 E and A. Okay, that's the first variation we're going to use. The second variation is going to look like this. And this variation starts the same. So the first subdivision is the same as this grouping. But the second, basically what we're doing there, we're joining the middle two together. So whereas here we're counting 1 E and A, there we're going to count 1 E and A, 2 E and A. Okay, so the middle sound is longer. It's worth 2 16th notes. So let's go over into our first pattern. It sounds like this. Now I'm playing with the right hand. I'm plucking the thumb and all three fingers at the same time. So you might want to practice that first. You can set your thumb on the 6th string, then index on the 4th, middle on the 3rd, and the ring finger on the 2nd string, and then just pluck them together like this. Okay? We're going to be using the chord of A minor 7th and D9. You can keep these two fingers fixed and then just change the 1st and the 2nd fingers. Now notice that the bass of the first chord goes down from the 6th string. For the second chord, we play the bass on the 5th string. Okay? So the rhythm is like this: 1 and 2 E and 1 and 2 E and 1 and 2 E and So we're taking our two chorded notes, we're subdividing them so that we have 4 8th notes. That gives us 1 and 2 and 1 and 2, and that's not quite the bossa nova rhythm that I played. What we're going to do is we're going to take the second group and subdivide them into 16th notes. That gives us 1 and 2 E and 1 and 2 E and But then we're going to tie the last three together from here to there. We're going to tie together so we have 1 on its own, and then the last 3 are tied together. And so that sounds like this. Okay, 1 and 2 E and 1 and 2 E and okay. Now this pattern is very similar to pattern 1. It uses the same rhythm, except what we're doing is we're separating the thumb and the fingers. So we go first with the thumb, then the fingers, thumb, fingers, the same rhythm. We're going to be basing this pattern here as an exercise over this chord, which is a half bar on the 4th fret. So you can cover 4 strings with that half bar, strings 4, 3, and 2. Which is a B triad coming from this chord. And with finger 2, we're going to play it at the 5th fret of string 6. And this is a B chord over the bass of A, so B over A, which is a similar sound, which is the same chord actually of the opening of The Waters of March, Águas de Março. So with your 3rd finger, you're going to put it on the 5th fret of string 2 to give this cool A sus kind of sound. Now we finally get to what I call the standard bossa groove, or the most common way people play the accompaniment part on the guitar. And this is exactly what you hear in the 1964 recording of The Girl from Ipanema with Astrid Gilberto, João Gilberto, Stan Getz, and Tom Jobim. They actually play it here as an A flat 6 sus 2 chord. But that is the rhythm. And in this example here that I played, I'm going to be using a D major 9. So it's finger 2 on the 5th fret of string 5, then finger 1 on the 4th fret of string 4. This is D, F sharp, then the 4th finger on the C sharp, so 6th fret of string 3, and the 3rd finger on the 5th fret of string 2. This is a little fiddly, actually, this shape here, but it's really, really rich and lovely to play. Then we're going to go over into an E dominant 9, so an E9. So finger 2 on the 7th fret, finger 1 on the 6th fret, and then 3 and 4 fret 7 of strings 2 and 3. And then we're going to just shift this finger 1 back 1 fret to the 5th fret into an E minor 9. And then this guy's going to stay here fixed, and we're going to shift these 3 back into the 6th fret for an E flat 9, and then we're back into this. Now there's quite a few songs based on this chord progression. We're going to be taking a look at them later on in the next part, but The Girl from Ipanema is based on that chord progression. O Pato, The Duck, and Só Danço Samba, Jazz and Samba. These are some of the songs that use this chord progression. We're going to take the same rhythmic figure from the previous pattern, but we're going to develop it a little bit and make it a little bit more syncopated. So remember, this rhythm is 1 and 2 E and da. So what we're going to do is we're going to take out that beat, which falls on 2, and put a rest there. So it's going to make it a little bit more syncopated. This is going to be like a syncopated kick, really, because it's going to sound like this: 1 and 2 E and 1 and 2 E and da. So this is the 2 now is silent. Now what we're going to also do is we're going to separate out the bass. The bass is going to have its separate voice, and it's going to be playing this figure here. And if you remember, these 2 chorded notes are what we called earlier the bossa nova heartbeat. And this is really cool because, you know, we have the essence of the bossa nova. We have the essence of that rhythm which we explored in the beginning right here. And this is the reason why this is one of the most common ways of playing the bossa nova on the guitar. So this we count 1, 2, 1, 2. So this is the bass voice. This is what we're going to do with the thumb, and this is the chord voice, or the harmony voice, what we're going to be doing with the fingers. Now you can also think of this top rhythm here as these 2 notes being tied together. So tied into one sound rather than cutting that sound out, putting a rest. You can also think of this as being tied together. Okay, this is often spelled like that, which is the same counting. This gives us the same sound. We're not stopping that note, but this is still syncopated because we have that tie, and that would still count as 1 and E and 1 and E and 1 and 2 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 E and Now that we have our basic bossa groove established, this is going to be our default pattern. I'm going to give you 2 variations to kind of mix and match and make it a little bit more interesting. So the first variation is going to involve anticipating the first hit whenever we have either a change of chord or simply a repeat of the pattern. So it's going to sound like this. Now if you notice here, I'm anticipating the change whenever we repeat the pattern. So 1 and 2 E and 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 1. So in terms of the rhythm, this is what it's going to look like. Here's our basic pattern. 1 and 2 E and remember these two are tied. Whenever we repeat the pattern, it could be either on a change of chord or whenever you want to do this variation. Basically, this note here, this hit here, is going to be anticipated right at the end of the pattern. Okay. Whenever it repeats again there, it's going to come a little earlier. And if I spell it rhythmically, it would look like this. This beat here is going to be pushed forward a bit. It's going to be played earlier. So this is going to be tied to that. Okay. So we would have 1 and 2 E and 1 and 2 E and 1. The being the push, being the anticipated hit. That's that and, which is the variation. One thing to mention about this variation is that whenever there's a chord change, it will happen with the anticipated hit. So if I change between D major 9 and E9, it will be like this. 1 and 2 E and 1 and 2 E and... So you'll notice that I anticipated the chord. It came slightly ahead of the next bar. And that enhances the syncopation, enhances that kind of upbeat push. The second variation is going to involve displacing the bass in beat 2. So beat 1, it's going to be at the tonics, so it would be at a D. And beat 2, it would be on the 5th note of the chord. So our second variation would look like this. The first bass note is played, we would play the root of the chord, and the second bass note would be the 5th. And what's cool about this pattern is that we get even closer to that original percussion sound, the backbone of the bossa nova, where the second beat is longer and kind of slightly accented, whereas the first one is a little bit drier. So when we play the D major 9, the bass is going to change between the D and the A, so the root and the 5th, okay? When we play the E9, it's going to be the E and the B, so 7th fret, strings 5 and 6. Same for the E minor 9. Now when it comes to the E flat 9, we can do the root here and actually play the A, which is on the 5th fret, so it's going to be okay like that. And that just adds a little bit of color because the A is the diminished 5th or the sharp 11. And it kind of gives us this kind of A7 flat 13 kind of a sound, which makes the progression a little bit more colorful, a little bit more interesting. You could also change between the two here, the root and the 5th, but here I'm choosing to go between the root and the diminished 5th or the sharp 4th. Now I'm going to play the basic bossa using both variations. I'm going to play the bouncing bass throughout, but I'll use the first variation, which is the anticipated hit, only whenever we're changing chords, only to kind of point a chord change. So it'll sound like this. Thank you so much for watching, guys. For parts 2 and 3 of this lesson series, head over to patreon.com/altguitar. There you can also download the lesson PDFs, the backing tracks, and practice with the interactive playback. Please consider subscribing to this channel, and I'll see you in our next lesson. Bye bye for now.